Good evening and welcome to the We Are Rise Show. I'm your host, Brett C. Collins. How you doing out there on this wonderful Wednesday? Beautiful weather. Hope you're doing well. Let's welcome my co-host, Marshall Smith. What's going on, buddy?
The polar vortex is finally over, but it was chilly. But
Yeah.
I'm glad that we're getting back to more. But we'll have some nice cool nights and warm days. So
Yeah, I
I
think that
can't.
what
I,
we're supposed to see at 10 o'clock,
yeah, the
Thea
Aurora
sent me
Borealis.
Thea sent me stuff from Denver. It was beautiful. It was really nice.
What
Really,
time
really
is it?
nice.
What time?
At 10 o'clock tonight, it's supposed to be. I guess there was my sister-in-law sent pictures to my wife regarding in Punta Gorda, which she saw, but I didn't even know. I mean, like I said, I don't know. I wasn't aware of it, but maybe I'll stay up to watch it after the show. So, welcome in pill.net, welcome in Rumble, and we are on YouTube. So if you're out there on YouTube, please subscribe, share the platform. Let me know how it is. It's really important. Tonight's show, Trump 2.0, cope harder or choke? Yep, that's it. Blunt, brusque, or Bessant. Treasury Secretary comes out to fill the vacuous void of commentary by President Trump with Laura Ingham. A lot of people are not liking this. Epstein Bagel Schmear. Yep. There's another Bagel Schmear 2.0. We'll cover it briefly. I'm sick of the hoax. I'm sick of all of it. Just let it all come out then. Let it all dangle out. We all know what this is about. And I got so much more stuff to cover this evening. So let's say hello, everybody, on pill.net. Wood USA dropping 117 gold pills. Thank you so much. Thea dropping the ship. Hello, guys. Trump 1 gifting the cookie. Thank you so much. A Curious Cat giving the cookie. How you doing? What's going on? Patty B is here. Who's there? Trusty Turnip. Super D dropping a cookie. What's going on? Who else is here? Alphabet Omega Pill. What's up, brother? How you doing? I see a lot of people. Good to see FL John 48 over here on Rumble. Alita. True Terran. Greetings and salutations. What's up? MJ615. What's going on? I don't think I have anybody over on YouTube yet, but if you go over there, just please subscribe. Let me know how you like it and stuff. It's an alternative platform to have. Everybody's getting back on YouTube, so it's an important thing wherever you like to go. So if you want to help out the platform, like, share, and subscribe. Hit the bell to get notified when we go live. That's always important. All right. Hit the red pill to share, to like it. If you want to help us out on Rumble, you can drop us a Rumble rant or buymeacoffee.com/wearerise. If you want to help out Marshall, you can donate to ko-fi.com/surfdog74. Let's get into some of the big stuff. I know a lot of people I guess they didn't like the way President Trump came off. Maybe he shouldn't be doing stuff with Fox News. And, Laura Ingham, like we said, she made one good comment just the other day about President Trump saying to the Republican Party about maybe getting this filibuster. But a lot of people have pushed back about that, and she was like, look, if you don't do it now, it's going to be later. And then she has this interview with him regarding H-1B visas and all this other stuff with the economy. And it went sideways. Let's face it. It didn't sound good. I understand where President Trump's point of view is on this. I do. All right. Are people making it bigger than what it is? Yes and no. Okay. I think the syntax, the language, the verbiage, the way the actual conversation had drifted on and drifted into, stuck in the craw with some people. They just didn't like it. They didn't like, hearing certain commentary in some fashion. And I think, this goes to saying right now, and I'll say this, where are these talking points coming from? I mean, we all heard, everybody's covering it today. Where are these talking points coming from? Are they someone else's, or is President Trump going back on his word? We'll start with that. And we're going to discuss this. And I'll get to so much more about this. So MAGA rages on about Trump saying H-1B visas need to bring in talent. Well, my attitude about this is, and I agree with Crowder, and I do believe is that if there is this massive wealth of talent that's sitting outside in India or China, what have you, in these other countries, well, I thought super talent comes with being super paid. The idea that it's cheap labor and they don't want to call it cheap labor because, in fact, it pisses people off more. It pisses people off from overseas. It pisses people off here in some way. How did they have such a unique sense of viability that they can fill these jobs that Americans can't. Maybe that is true. Maybe it's because it's so affordable and it's possible for that to happen that we continue on with this path. But we'll get to that. President Trump, defense of the H-1B visas, used to bring in skilled foreign workers into the U.S., sparked anger among social media users within the MAGA movement. Trump, in an interview with Fox News host Laura Ingraham, said H-1B visas were needed because you have to bring in talent. Okay. What is that kind of talent? What does that parlay into? When Ingraham pushed back saying the U.S. has plenty of domestic talent, Trump replied, no, you don't. You don't have certain talents, and people have to learn. Okay, that's a good point. I think that's a fair assessment. Trump said you can't take people off an unemployment line and say, I'm going to put you into a factory where you're going to make missiles. I think that's another fair statement. You can't just pull people off from A and B and put them randomly into C and start doing this. Just because you know how to work on an assembly line doesn't mean you know how to put missiles together. All right. And, you think about, you have to go through this, let's just say defense contracts and stuff like you're going to have to go through background checks, classifications and other stuff. But why would you outsource it to Chinese or Indian workers? Wouldn't that be a problem in general? So I fail to understand where that lies. I understand the basic concept of what he's talking about. You can't just pull people off, okay, with very limited amount of acumen or training, all right, to fit into these, let's just say these tenets, these positions that are going to come into play. Newsweek has contacted the White House and email outside regular working hours for comment, but no comment. Why it matters, a softening of his position on immigration would be a substantial break with the MAGA movement that helped deliver him in the White House twice. I agree. Agenda 47, ladies and gentlemen, and I was going back to Agenda 47, and there's nothing really in Agenda 47 that works with this other than what Agenda 47 spoke with about protectionism regarding the workforce and lowering down the H-1B visas. So the question is President Trump evolving or devolving a position or a posture at this moment on the H-1B? The restrictive forms to curb abuse, okay, maybe. Is it aligned with the Agenda 47 protectionism? I'm not sure about that. And I don't classify high-skilled workers, okay, that are cheap equivalently. I don't see how that passes muster in some way. It's best to say it in that manner so you don't offend people. But if it's the pressure from the tech companies and what have you, that's one thing. But if we're still focused on Agenda 47, I think President Trump is deviating here somewhat. Let's move on. All right, I got more here. So what to know? Ingraham asked Trump about this. Would not be a priority for administration. I agree, Trump said. But you also do need to bring in talent. We have plenty of talented people. Ingraham said, no, you don't. We don't have talented people here. Wow. Trump responded, you don't have certain talents, and people have to learn. You can't take people off unemployment lines, what have you. He later added, I know you, and I disagree on this. You can't just say a country that's coming in, going to invest $10 billion to build a plant and take people off an unemployment line who haven't worked in 5 years, and they're going to start making missiles. It doesn't work that way. I get it. I do. The uproar comes a day after Trump faced criticism about 600,000 Chinese students were to be allowed to go to these universities. They bankroll these universities. If you were basically to cut them off, which is basically part of the Chinese package deal. So this is all the stuff that's regarding the tariffs, the economic deals that President Trump has put forth with China that they're making. So these students can allow. Are they all spies? I don't know. Probably a good swath of them. That's how they are. That's how they swear allegiance and loyalty. All right. And are the universities working with them? Maybe this is a setup to bring them down, to make sure we watch and monitor over this stuff. I don't know. Is it so wrong for outside students to come in here into the United States to throw money around, to build into the economy and into what? That's capitalism. I'm fine with them going to these universities. But if they're actually going to be doing things that you shouldn't be doing, like spying or other things, well, then we have a problem. And I think that is part of it. Just the idea of alone them coming in is basically, it's like, look, we all know that they're spying. All right, at least a good swath of them. President Trump is quizzed about the remarks made in August about hundreds of thousands of Chinese students be allowed in the U.S. to study. Ingraham said the previous comments were not pro-MAGA position. They're not. They're really not in representative Agenda 47. I hearken you back to go look at Agenda 47. Some of the things that he had, let's just say, spoke on the other night are not Agenda 47 stuff. He's obviously pivoted and deviated because the template, the predicate is to get this economy going. I think that's the key. That was always the key. You had to set the foundation for all these things. That's why President Trump was traveling abroad and making all these deals. Okay. He was setting the foundation for what's to come. He wants to make sure that there's enough infusion of cash and capital and businesses and manufacturing to be up and ready when the system goes down behind the scenes, or it goes down simultaneously. So these are people on X, big name platforms. Savannah Hernandez, MAGA influencer, contributor, conservative youth group, Turning Point USA, blah. Comments disheartening and post, Trump needs to get out of his bubble back and ground listening to American people who elected him. Okay. Yeah, he does need to get out. He does. Not travel to all these other places, but do a rally here and there. But right now, with everything that's going on, you'd have to do an inside rally where it's safe. The Truth Trumpster account shared the clips saying not good. We need to be prioritizing American students. Yeah, Matt Morrison, American First, content creator and comment, called the interview catastrophic for Trump. Okay. More people, even Kilgore, a self-described American nationalist, called it a betrayal. The Hodge twins, an account representing conservative political commentary, and the twin brothers, Keith Hodge and Kevin Hodge, whatever, wrote on X, the best thing Trump can do to save MAGA is fire every advisor telling him to say this dumb shit. Okay. So that's basically it. So there's a lot of people that are MAGA, pro-MAGA, whatever you want to say, that really don't like what they're seeing. They don't understand where President Trump is coming from this, who is speaking for him. And I'll go back to what I was saying. Are these his talking points or someone else's? I think that's key. Or is he reinventing the wheel of narratives, Marshall, by stipulating and by protecting American jobs for the future pretense? I understand that these proposals that are to be implemented with incoming are outsourced for companies that have paid to play. That brings wealth, jobs. Who is that for? And at that moment, are we talking now? So these incoming jobs that are basically going to be furbished with outside or bringing their own people over here under the H-1B visas that we understand in this matter. So these companies can be off and running for the future of a possibility of hiring American workforce and training them later on. Is that the potentiality? Is that what President Trump should have, let's just say, discussed in some way? Because he didn't really give and cite many examples. It was Scott Bessant who went on Fox News the next day that did.
Yeah, Scott Bessant needs to slow down a little bit and talk a little less. But I will say that there are a few points. Trump should have he should add, we're going to have aggressive training for Americans alongside. We're going to have some training shops. We're going to bring, so you put that in there. Now you're giving people, okay, so you're not really just going to lie, because I don't know if it's true or not, or if he's just going to keep them to continue to work here. So I would have said, we are going to set up aggressive training for the American people, the American worker, and we're setting it all up. It's all going to happen at the same time. The other thing, in regards to the students, a lot of those students are already here, if not all of them. That's what I've heard numerous times over in the past. They've rehashed something that's really old news. And then the last one is these influencers that are doomsday and panicking. Right.
They're like the Epstein files.
Yeah,
like the Epstein stuff.
Yeah, I'm seeing rest in peace, MAGA on X and all this stuff. And my response to those people online, I said it a number of times. I said, it's simple. If your comment at this point, 10 months in, is rest in peace, MAGA, MAGA's dead, after just 10 months in, then you're very short-sighted.
Yeah.
It's just a very short-sighted.
These people have no patience. And look, I understand, people want to fast track certain things, but he's talking about the economy, he's talking about jobs, he's talking about a whole host of stuff. Now, could the actual narrative be better presented? I talked about it yesterday.
That was the problem, his presentation.
The presentation. He's very blunt. He's very direct. He's very brusque. And so is Bessant. They need somebody else. Like Bill O'Reilly said, I think an economic affordability czar or somebody to speak for them that's not the White House press secretary in this matter. I think in some way it's important. And, to go into these interviews with these hardline Republicans, I call them Christian Zionists. That's what she is. Of course, they're going to push back on every opportunity on your agenda. And that's why Bessant went on Fox News to course correct in some way. All right. Did he soften the blow in some way? Yeah, he did. I'll cover that. But look, people are talking about this. They don't like the fact is that H-1B visas take American jobs, and it's a problem. They don't like the fact that the Jeets do it. They don't like the fact that Chinese do it. They don't like the fact that a variety of different people come in and take American skilled labor away. And I think that the biggest problem is it's not that President Trump may or may not be correct in the matter of what he's suggesting. It's just the way he said it. And I think that's what it is that left the impression. Okay. It's more about how he said it than what he said. Because I think we can all have a serious discussion here that there might not be many skilled workers as we think they are. And I think that's a fair assessment of understanding what we've just went through in the last decade or so with colleges, with the fact that there are no alternatives to learn tradecraft outside apprenticeship in some way. So, and with the fact is that a lot of manufacturings have closed down in some way just to pull someone off the line, like President Trump is saying, and put them into building missiles from building cars. It might be something different completely. And it's not even just that, or making sneakers or doing these things. I see where he's going with this. I understand what he's saying is that the level to where we need to be to get people in there has to be the same level that we might be paying at a cheaper price, or companies might be paying cheaper price, who are already self-sufficient and ready to go because they have already been looking for these jobs and they've been bouncing around for a while. And that's the H-1B visas. I understand it. It's less about anything that President Trump was talking about and how to apply it. It was more about the way he said it, because it came off crass and people took offense to it.
Yeah, he should have said, look, we're bringing in these big companies. They're high-paying jobs.
Right.
Okay? We need to get their people who've been doing these jobs to prime the pump of our economy and our job market. Once we get that going, at the same time, we're going to be training our American people.
Right.
And then they're going to move into those jobs. That would have been much better than saying we don't have any talent.
Right.
That's pretty hard.
Well, that's what Bessant was saying. We'll cover that in a second, but I want to go through some of the discussions of what people are having that are out there and how people define what high skilled is versus cheap. Look, I understand getting to the incoming companies. They have to be off the ground, rolling and running. And you need skilled or cheap, whatever is equivalent in that matter of this labor for specific needs for that company right away. And we might not have the actual potential talent with all these incoming companies. Think about how many companies are coming in here. We just might not have the workforce, okay, that we once did that can be off and running in this matter. I think it's a fair assessment. It doesn't necessarily mean that what President Trump is trying to indicate is that we have to get better. We have to get better in training. We have to get better in skills. We have to get these companies in. We have to make sure that that they're making money. We're making money. We're collecting money. I think it's for the benefit, the future benefit of this country before the system does come collapsing down. And I think that the predicate, the template of all this is the most important thing, the most enduring thing. All right. He's setting all this up so they can come in, all right, and temporarily do what they have to do. And then on a case-to-case scenario, whether it's a year, 3 years, 5 years and stuff, you can't bring your whole family in here. I understand that's a big thing, and we're going to hear this right now. So Ann Coulter condemns reliance on foreign workers. So obviously, any moment that she can attack President Trump. But this is a sticking horse with her and many other people that proclaim they're MAGA, but they're not. These are the people like Cernovich. These are the people like Tim Cass. They sit on these. These are these people that sit on these fences. They're not ride and die MAGA. They're not. So every opportunity they could cherry pick at President Trump, this is one of them. The Epstein files is another. Here we go.
Brouhaha around last Christmas where, a few figures on the right were coming out and saying like, oh, Americans are lazy and it's like intrinsic in our culture, which is just ridiculous because I'm like, we can look up on the moon and see a flag up there. It's our flag. So that being said, let's just say we grant.
The fact that you even said that makes you look like a schmuck.
Yeah.
To say that, oh, we got a flag up there and stuff like that, when 65% of the American public, the American electorate, don't believe we went to the moon. But you want to use that as your initial base argument to say, well, I mean, dude, that is just right then and there. They sent the fucking template of how stunad they are. And then I'm talking really stunad. Let's listen to the rest of this.
Like Bessant came out this morning. He was saying, look, we have a few different industries that obviously haven't been onshore in a very long time. So we need to bring in some experts to train the local workers on how to get this done, which I reject wholeheartedly. But let's even grant that. Let's just, for the sake of argument, let's grant that. My question is, how do we guarantee the workers are compliant with H-1B standards? Because go back to December, everyone was posting all these listings from like public databases showing that we were bringing in like hundreds of thousands of workers from India to work like janitor gigs. Like it was absolutely ridiculous, the amount of scamming going on. So I'm like, look, first of all, I hate the taste of turmeric. So I don't even know if I want them here anyway, even if it were like, like monster workers. But there's like scams left and right, and it's India, so I mean, go figure. But there's like, it's just ridiculous. It's totally ridiculous.
Yes, no, that is a great point. And by the way, who was it who was calling Americans lazy? Vivek Ramaswamy. Let's not forget that.
Yeah.
It was Elon pushing for the cheap workers. The scam point you mentioned, I think, is very important. It turns out, I don't know if you've noticed this, but a lot of these alleged, massive scientific breakthroughs in the papers. No, the Chinese and the Indians openly cheat.
Yeah, literally.
There are photos of them crawling out of windows to like pass the answers to someone. We live in we used to, I hope we can get it back. America is traditionally a high trust society. Mm-hmm. And when you're letting, look at the scores this person got on these tests. Right. Yeah, well, the odds are they're probably cheating.
Right.
It's funny that Bessant said that Bessant, sorry for mispronouncing his name. I like him because there it is. Another example of Trump goes out and says something stupid about bringing in foreign workers and everybody around him has to rush out. And what he meant was,
right.
But you're right. Will they go back? And you also reminded me, one among the many ways H-1B workers harm Americans, it is of course taking American jobs. All these American kids are told, major in a STEM field, major in computer science, major in mathematics. Oh, you'll be set for life. That's so great. And then, oh, sorry, your job went to an Indian, a low-priced Indian. But right. Also, the Indians and the Chinese and the H-1B workers come in, and then they bring their elderly parents so they right. can instantly go on Social Security. They can bring the whole village in, mm-hmm. whom you'll be paying for, America.
Okay. So we could see where that was going and stuff. I mean, they basically had their, let's just say their talking points about how they don't like Jeets. They wanted to be as, let's just say, deferential to not to President Trump about it, not respecting what he was saying in some way, and then saying, hey, look, if you're going to put these people in this place that are basically going to go on Social Security, take American jobs away from all these young kids and stuff, what you're doing is you're basically destroying this country. Is it a rational argument to suggest that what Bessant was saying on Fox News, which we'll get to, is that this is a temporary thing and should have been strung that way for that time? But in the meantime, what other people are saying, why didn't they put out this business plan, economic plan in some fashion later on? Why did you have to go on Fox News to actually talk about this, that you get a reaction? And here's the key, and this is where I'm going to go with this, ladies and gentlemen. Are we overreacting to the H-1Bs, or was it an imperfect reaction or reactions to a shoddy disposable income slave scenario? Either this is unsellable or unsellable. And I think President Trump was putting that out there for a reason. He was well aware of last year in December about making these comments about what what's his name made. He's running for governor, what's the guy's name? The Indian in Ohio? I forget his name. Anyway, he ran for Vivek. And then he came out and called us, lazy and stuff, and people pushed back and attacked him and stuff. I think in some way you have to look at this, that President Trump purposely said these things for a reaction. I don't think President Trump does anything, okay? He doesn't go out there and just shoot off the cuff and say things all the time without having a plan. You know what I'm saying? I don't think so. I think this was made for this point. He was trying to garnish a reaction, and I think he got one. And then people, when they get this reaction, President Trump sees it, and what happens? They pivot, right? Isn't that typically how it is? But I just don't think necessarily, that everything that everybody's saying, America first, get wrecked, feelings last. I mean, there's so many different Kofifi. What people Kofifi, cold hard facts, gag on that cope. I mean, so much funny stuff that people were saying out there. Look, if you can't handle a single conversation that President Trump is talking about that throws you off how are you going to be able to handle all the other stuff that basically that's going to break you as a human, because we're not even there yet of learning all this incendiary stuff, all this stuff that is so disgusting, that's so, let's just say, painful to hear and endure every day that we're going through it. We're going to see 150 people indicted before the end of the year. We're going to go through all this crazy stuff. And this one sleight of hand discussion really took people for, I don't know. I think people lack the emotional intelligence, low EQ people. They're just waiting to pounce at every moment of what President Trump says. And yes, he's a very blunt, candid person. And I think that, unfortunately, people's feelings got fisted. They got fisted and they don't like it. And I'm going to defend President Trump here and stuff. I know that might not be, the right thing to do and stuff like that, because, hey, that's just my point of view. I think that he was wanting to garner a reaction. He was basically saying, look, there's a reason why, and people didn't even pick it up. Have people even really thought about the idea that all these new companies that are coming in are going to need certain types of assets to fill the void in here that we might not be able to do, that they have to be up and running right away? Is it something, because they're going to bring their own people? I'm not saying you're hiring Jeets or Chinese or Koreans or whatever and stuff. He's talking about H-1B visas specifically. Yes, getting rid of people, getting people off SNAP, getting rid of all the illegals, doing all these wonderful things, getting rid of closing the border and stuff. Yeah, that helps what? Create jobs. That helps open the market for what? Skilled laborers that are in the United States. But the question is, what type of skilled labor do we have in the United States that you think that President Trump is referring to that we need for these incoming companies? Think about that.
We've talked about it many times since this show started, is that Trump always says stuff to see what people how they react. And it's always these same people that I bring up. It's the knee-jerk crowd. That they don't give it 48 hours to keep your mouth shut. Give it about 48 hours to maybe up to a week, so you can let it let it simmer until you. Now, I will say he should have really focused on saying, we're bringing all these big high-paying companies in here.
Yep.
And they're going to provide years and years of decades and decades.
And they're going to require a certain or allotment of skills that we may not be able to offer at that time.
Yeah.
And then I guess addressing the language, his verbiage versus the actual discussion of saying and talking about H-1B visas and importing them in. Yeah, we deported these people. Now we're bringing them in. There's more strict regulations. I get that. I understand it's all restrictive now through Homeland Security and stuff. But it doesn't take away the fact is that, when I think some people really have a problem really facing reality that we really might have a shortage of these types of skilled laborers. I think it might be indicative of yourself in some way to not take this as a negative connotation, but look at it as, or a pejorative, because what President Trump might be saying is that We seriously need to get to that level so we don't have this long term. I think that is something that we should think about and not really fly off the handle with low EQ. I mean, that's just me because I'm trying to be based here and not lose my freaking mind. Like, oh, yeah, I get it. But you know what? I understand Nick Fuentes' plight, and I understand people like him and stuff like that. But if you don't have the skilled craftsmanship, this trade craft or what have you, working in these assemblies or whatever it is to fit into these positions and stuff, then you shouldn't be crying about it.
What have our people been doing, Brett, over the last 30 years? What have the young people been doing over the last 30 years? They've been getting liberal arts degrees.
Yep.
That's what he's telling you.
Yeah.
In a way, he's saying, look, you dumb fucks. You've got to reach up a higher level. You've got to bring ourselves back to a higher level like we had back in the day when we were building these beautiful cars like Ford or whatever and all this other great stuff. We lost manufacturing for so many decades, and now he's bringing it back. Now you've got to step up, America. Go to the schools, learn the right things. I think that's part of what he was saying.
No, I see a troglodyte. I'm not implying that Indians or Chinese are skilled labor per se. They're slave labor. I understand that. Okay. I'm ready to take the slings and arrows. So if you want to punch, I can punch back to anybody who wants it. I'm just giving you a based understanding without losing your emotional intelligence over this stuff. So I want people to be calm, cool, and rational. You don't have to like what President Trump said, but you have to hear what he was saying and the audience he was speaking to. I think that's it. All right. And this is part of the reasoning I'm showing this last part from Mediaite. This is insane. We're going to lose midterms so badly, warned Republican politician, Lake County Commissioner Anthony Sabatini. All right. I think he's a state senator in Florida, Anthony Sabatini. I think it's in where District 22, maybe?
He tried to run in my district.
What is he? Is he in District 22? Whatever. I think that's Palm Beach. That's Delray stuff.
Yeah, he tried to run for Congress in my district, which is Mills. And Mills got, and that guy's a
right.
slut, so.
All right. So this is insane. Are we going to lose the midterm so badly? I've never seen an administration crash and burn in the first year so badly for no reason other than to appease donors and special interests. Trump has surrounded himself with the worst people. Okay. I'm not going to play any more of that. I'm just done with the Laura Ingraham thing. I want to get into other stuff. But I think that is the overarching theme. Because the way this spells, because people are like, I don't want to be a doomer. Well, then don't be a doomer. You don't have to be a doomer in this. You could look at this in another way. The key of understanding high IQ is people who have the emotional intelligence to prepare for this and brace for this. Your low EQ people that just freak out about Epstein and all this stuff shows you that you don't have the patience or the tolerance or even the will to have a conversation, because your opinions and your thoughts are closed off. And since they're closed off, you don't want to hear anybody else, which is fine. And what I'm saying here is that I think there's more to his rhetoric, okay, than what people got, that lost in the shuffle, so to speak. The rhetoric lost the people. The simple conversation, a connotation of what he was addressing and suggesting really threw people for a loop. They never thought they'd hear President Trump be so blunt. But President Trump's blunt all the time. I think that's what really bothers you. And you know what? Maybe facing the truth, too. I'm not implying that the Chinese, as you said, troglodyte, okay? And I think you make a great point. And I do. And I'm not going to sit there and belittle the point. What I'm saying is that in comparison, I'm not going to say Indians or Chinese are more skilled labor than American workers. I'm not even going to make the comparison. I'm not fully aware, okay, who's better and who's not. But don't use the discussion that, we went to the moon, so we're better. We're better in engineering. We're better in all these different things. Okay, that doesn't make sense either. But
just don't want to be overreactionary to Trump. You cannot. Trump is not the kind of president that you have immediate reactions to. Ever react to anything Trump does, because it will fuck you up. Excuse my language. You want to be patient. Listen to what he said. Let it piss you off for a minute. Sip on some coffee. Give it a couple days.
Yep.
Sleep on. Think about it before you go making an
Patient and
ass out
prudent
of it.
when you exactly, just like the Epstein thing. And this is exactly how many people walked into this trap. And then to call us obsequious and servile because we defend President Trump in some way. I think President Trump was raising a point. And first, do you trust Laura Ingraham, Fox News? I mean, honestly. So all of a sudden you're saying you agree with Laura Ingraham when she pushed back on President Trump. That's what you're saying. That's the other thing I took away, which no one made a comment about. They just let that off in the air. But you have no problem criticizing Fox News, Fox host guests, and all these other people. So did you have a problem with her pushing back? You agreed with her pushback? Do you think that she's on the side of President Trump just because she said, well, I think President Trump is correct that we should make sure that the filibuster is moved forward in this matter? Senor Polo, get to the shades. Have a visa cap for each country, say 2,000. And when 500 don't return, your cap goes down to 1,500. That's a good one. That's a good one. I think you'd have to increase the numbers, though, right? Senor Polo, get the shades. Trump should have rolled out his financial plan in phases so people would not get impatient. Yeah, I agree. I suggested yesterday on Thomas's show, I was on True Reporting yesterday. Go back and watch it. It was a good show. It was a little fiery. I think Thomas and I were going at it. Economic affordabilities are, or whatever Bill O'Reilly had thrown out there. I don't want to, undercut what he said or plagiarize what he said, but I think in some way we need something to manage the discussion on these types of policies and leverage the time doing it, about establishing and highlighting, informing the public about cheap, accessible, inexpensive, low budget things that the administration can drop, can be doing, and explaining to the people in general. This is another example about having someone come out instead of Scott Bessant, the Treasury Secretary, to go on to explain these things. I don't necessarily think they had these things ready to go. The way it sounded to me is that all this stuff about H-1B visas are, I think it's hit and miss. It's not fully, let's just say, targeted and ready to go. I think they're in the stages of implementing certain things, as DHS Secretary Noem said. Trump one gifted a cookie. I like the fresh do Brett. Thank you. Super D gifted a cookie. Curious Cat gifted a cookie. Trump one gifted a cookie. Thank you. Thank you, Thea, for gifting the ship. Look, I understand. Go ahead, Marshall.
What he needs to do is get his staff together. And on this subject where everybody's freaking out, because I'm sure he's seeing it,
Right.
is just come down, put together a solid plan, like an Agenda 47 plan to a degree, whatever, but focused on this, like bullet points, and go through it and say, this is what we're going to do, this is what we're going to do, and this is what we're talking about doing. And that way it's easily presented,
I'm trying to read everybody's comments because I know you got a lot to say, and I am not ignoring you. I'm especially not ignoring you. Not tonight. I asked the builder why. Nah, dog. I asked the builder why he was using people from below the border. He said he can get 10 people for the cost of 5 or 6 here. I said, have you seen the work? He said, for cost, I'll have him fix it. I trust Jesse Waters, Maria Bartiromo. Okay. I saw you, stun gun. Yeah, my daughter. You said your daughter regarding, or were you here? You said something about your daughter regarding the moon landing. Even your 12-year-old daughter knows it's fake. Okay. Trump is very rational in his thoughts. Yeah, look, I get it. I see with all, what I'm trying to do is put out a different thought-provoking discussion, dialectic thinking, as it's discussed, as I try to do, maybe paradoxical in this. And I can be self-contradictory as I speak about this, but I want you to be motivated to think about these things and look at it at a different perspective instead of hammering him for what he said, okay, and not listening to what he was saying. I think that's where the lack of emotional intelligence comes in.
It's only 10 months now.
It's only 10 months. It's a little hard to stomach when you hear this. We are not talented enough or not skilled enough for these jobs. Considering most of these jobs are entry-level or junior-level jobs, it's definitely to benefit other corporations, tech companies. They can hire foreign workers, trust me on this, cheaper than American workers. Listen to this.
Jobs. As I mentioned, STEM fields dominate. the occupations. And most of the workers come from India. In fact, 70% of H-1B visa holders come from India. Another 10 to 15% come from China. 80% of H-1B visa approvals are for entry-level or junior-level jobs. That's a little hard to stomach when we hear that we're not talented enough or that we're not skilled enough for these jobs, when you consider that most of these jobs are actually at entry or junior-level jobs. And it's definitely to the benefit of corporations, tech companies that can hire foreign workers, trust me on this, cheaper than American workers. This is laid out, by the way, by billionaire tech entrepreneur Palmer Luckey. Job.
Okay. So, yeah, I mean, I can understand where this would piss you off and stuff, because the bottom line is that American workers are more expensive to employ. And that should piss you off. They should be hiring people and pay us what gets paid. But that's the problem. We've gone so far off the reservation about the pay scale. I think that this is, until we can find a way to cap this in some way, and the increases that go up. I mean, the problem is that the salaries of these people are ridiculous in themselves, the CEOs of these companies, the vice president, and what have you. And so they want to keep more of their money. That's why they hire cheap labor. Yeah, it's a disgrace. It's embarrassment. Someone asked me, what is dialectic thinking? Well, I was using in the context of what President Trump was speaking with last night. It's the cognitive process of reconciling opposing perspectives to arrive at more complex, comprehensive understandings. That's what President Trump was trying to do. He was trying to not mutually exclusive things, but he was saying two things are not dependent on each other, that can coexist. I think that's what he was trying to say. He was saying, yes, we can get American workers working, but we have to bring in foreign workers. You may want to disagree with that and have these opinions, but we need these special type skilled workers to come in here per se. And whether it's built in to the language of these people that have already paid to play, that have given hundreds of $billions to open up and move into this country with all this manufacturing and tech, I think, yeah, there's a certain growing pain with that. But I think that he's trying to say is that, look, we should not be so contradictory about this. We should have an open mind. You can have multiple competing thoughts about getting the American workforce working while simultaneously bringing in these workers with these companies that have a specific, let's just say, point process of work that they need to do. Instead of waiting time, all right, where it's going to cost time to train and educate, we could be doing that on the back end while these people are in there facilitating this work and getting the country energized. I think that is the modus operandi of President Trump. He wants to get the country up and running to a fine level, like a really high-end level. He talks about it all the time. Trillions of dollars come in, all this stuff. But he wants the manufacturing. He wants the standards to go higher. And he wants to move it faster. There's only so much time that we have, okay, that he may have. All right. Are we going to have a war? They're never going to leave if they're allowed. I'd rather America burn than accept these workers. Okay. Marshall, your thoughts.
He wants to prime the pump. I think that would have been a great way of him describing, because the average American can get that. You know, look, we've got all these massive companies with trillions of dollars coming into our economy and jobs, and we need to get that pump primed. We get those guys going, and we'll be off and running. Now, think to yourself, Brett, imagine if you look at it this way, what kind of talent do we really have between the ages of 25 and, let's say, 40 years of age in this country?
Let's just say 18 to 30.
Okay, 18 to 30 or 35. What kind of talent do you have there? I mean, what kind of skills? Probably not enough to fill all these damn big companies that he's bringing these in here. People are looking past that. They're not seeing that part of it.
Let's just put it on the we're probably going to have in the next 2 years at least 30 different companies moving in, 30 different manufacturing moving in, ready to go, setting up shop, and they're going to need a workforce ready to go. 30. I mean, they could be employing up to 10,000 people per se, maybe even more. So I think really about the skill set, about getting people up and ready is a temporary thing. While there are probably some people that can fill these positions, I know it's problematic. I get it. I feel your frustration. I feel your anger. We need to get where is the, you know what? Where is the border czar? You notice that he just disappeared? I thought we were going to accelerate and go on this acceleration that we're just going to, we're going to have 10,000, 20,000, 30,000 removed a month. I don't know. But, the more we remove from this country, the better I feel, because the numbers I see right now are not good. I mean, yeah, it's closing in at over 2.1 million. Some self-deport, 500, 600,000, 1.5. I'd like to see it like 3 million a year, 4 million a year. I know it's going to go on, but this is going to be an evolution of time that is probably going to be after President Trump. All right? It's going to be after President Trump. And, I hate to say it, that you have to look at the long game. If China, President Trump says they look at it 50 years, 100 years into the future, maybe that's how we should start thinking. We should stop having the short-term, impatient, low EQ, just like, pulling her hair on fire. Oh, the Epstein files, they're doing it again, or this. I think we need to slow down and not freak out about it. We don't even know what the numbers are. Look, let's play this. We don't know what the numbers are yet.
That they have integrity, that we're actually doing the vetting of the individuals who come into this country, that they want to be here for the right reasons, that they're not supporters of terrorists and organizations that hate America. And that's what I think is so remarkable is under the Trump administration, we've sped up our process and added integrity to the visa programs, to green cards, to all of that. But also more people are becoming naturalized under this administration than ever before. More people are becoming citizens because we're not just streamlining and building some processes back into our immigration policies. We're also making sure that these individuals that are coming into our country and get that privilege, that they actually are here for the right reasons. The Biden administration let thousands of terrorists into this country. They opened the southern border. They abused our asylum programs, abused our protective programs and visa programs, and we fixed all of it. It's remarkable what President Trump has done, and it's because he's a great leader. He's a visionary, and this man is going to go down as a legend in history as our greatest president ever.
Madam
Yeah, I mean, look, I understand this. Chocolate diet, you're funny. Very funny. I even like the name. The Zoomers are going to kill you all for this betrayal, for what is going on.
Senior Poyo said TikTok creator skills.
Yeah,
I mean, that's what we have.
Yeah,
TikTok creator skills.
Exactly. I mean, I don't. What would they? If you take, let's just say, the anti-Israel or whatever away from Nick Fuentes, what else does Nick Fuentes have? Think about that. What else does he have? Because that's his bread and butter. If you pull that away from him, what other skill set does he have? I mean, he could talk about a lot of stuff. You saw him with Tucker Carlson, but he wasn't the same. You remove that. You remove certain things, the H-1B visas. You remove certain conversations. That's it. That's what he is. You know what I'm saying? He's a shock jock for certain prevailing discussions, and some of it makes sense. Yeah, he's a centrist. I get it. He's a centrist. I get it. I understand that. But look, you don't know the numbers yet. We don't know the plan yet. I think people need a little bit more patience. What I'd rather see is more people leaving this country than coming in. I'd like to see those numbers. Yeah, I want to see the czar talk about it every day. This is the whole thing. It's about the narrative. It's about getting out in front of it so people can know what's going on. I think that's the problem. You can't rely on the press secretary for everything. All right. I think you're going to need individual. You can't rely on Stephen Miller for everything. I think you need more people to come out front. Let's get the economic team, let's get people out there front and center speaking about this in some way. That's the most important thing. So the Trump administration doesn't fall into this trap where it comes into an echo chamber, but a lot of people are just pouncing. They're pouncing like we're losing here. It's been 10 months. Do you understand? 10 months. And look at all the shit we've had to go through. Stun Gun says it. Stun Gun 1, thank you so much for the $10 rummer. Great show, guys. DJT is a rock star cabinet, has a rock star cabinet, and has made more shit happen in 10 minutes than any other administration ever known the man. Yeah. I mean, honestly, I mean, seriously, it's 10 months. We haven't even gone through the first term of next year. We got the 26 elections, if we're going to have it. I understand that there's other concerns that we have to deal with and stuff, but look at what we have with this Congress. We have a lot of the senators are not MAGA. Good swath of the House isn't either. They ride on his coattails just to get reelected. They're not really implementing his agenda or codifying his executive orders or other things that he's put forth. So he's a one-man show. He's a one-man show. That's it. It's pretty much him and some of his team. So you're going to fault the guy for saying this or that. I mean, it's him, Scott Bessant. You got Pete Hegseth. You got Secretary of State. There are people with good. They're all out there speaking, but we need other people on a daily basis to continue with this discussion. All right, moving forward.
I think you should scale back on these immigrants that are coming in.
I agree with that.
50%, over 50% of legal immigrants,
right,
are on welfare. I mean, we've got to up the ante on the quality of these people. They need to be based on
it's
merit.
the narrative. The problem is the narrative is getting skewed and mired in that we don't understand where the numbers lie. I think that's the problem. I don't think we have a good understanding of where things are. There should be, like there's a dead clock. I want to see the illegal criminal alien get the hell out clock. I want to see the kick out clock. I want to see that clock. I want to see how many people on a daily basis are thrown out of this country and how many people that are coming in this country, whether legal or not. We need to see that up close. All right, so this is Scott Bessant. This is what we're going to get to. I know a lot of people. It's been a rough ride, man. Rough ride with this stuff. I get you. I understand. Brian Kilman, President Trump, Laura Ingraham clashed on H-1B visas. This is what the Treasury Secretary
Laura
said.
Ingraham aired her interview from a couple of days ago, and they kind of clashed a little on H-1B visas, which you up the fee to $100,000. I want you to watch this and tell me what you think.
And does that mean the H-1B visa thing will not be a big priority for your administration? Because if you want to raise wages for American workers, you can't flood the country with tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of foreign workers.
You also do have to bring in talent. When
we have plenty of talented people here.
No, you don't.
We don't have talented people here?
No, you don't have certain talents, and people have to learn. You can't take people off an unemployment line and say, I'm going to put you into a factory where we're going to make missiles.
Where do you stand, Mr. Secretary?
For years, 20, 30 years, we have offshored precision manufacturing jobs. And the president's point here is we can't snap our fingers and say, you're going to learn how to build ships overnight. We want to bring semiconductor industry back to the U.S. There are going to be big facilities in Arizona. So I think the president's vision here is to bring in overseas workers where these jobs went.
Who have skills.
Who have the skills, 3, 5, 7 years to train the U.S. workers. Then they can go home, the U.S.
Okay, see how that got overlooked? To train the U.S. workers, and so they can go back to what they're doing. So they know they have a temporary lot. Now, what we didn't hear is that while they're here, do they get to apply for citizenship? See, I didn't hear that conversation. Or will that be what? Denied? Or is it going to be on a case-by-case basis? I agree with Troglodyte's saying. I agree with you guys are saying. I agree with Marshall's saying, is that we need to remove these people coming in. But the people that are going to come in, they're going to be based on a temporary situation. But that temporary situation means, okay, 7 years, you go home now. You can't stay here. And I guess that he should have been pushed on this. All right, so there's not going to be – so if it's 7 years, they got to go, right? That's it. Time's up. They don't get to stay here, get a green card. They don't get to pass go and collect $200. They don't get to do anything. Is that what you're telling us?
Workers fully take over.
So do you understand the concern that people have? Hey, an American can have that job. Why you give it to a guy from
But an American can't have that job.
So it's specific skills.
Because we haven't built ships in the U.S. for years. We haven't built semiconductors. So this idea of overseas partners coming in, teaching American workers, then returning home, that's a home run.
Look, I like how Scott Bessant put it down, and the part of the show is that he really laid it out for everybody to understand. He was quick on his feet to see, hey, look, we haven't done this, we haven't done that, we haven't done that. I mean, how many people are skilled in this country that know how to build semiconductors or build ships or do anything like that? I mean, honestly, now you have military contractors that build submarines and military aircraft. Yeah,
huge.
But we're talking commercial, not
Yeah.
talking military, which is a totally different thing because of all the classified and clandestine military hardware that goes in there. So that's a certain, let's just say, outsourced or outfitted group. But in this matter, what he's saying is there's a temporary time where, hey, look, yes, I know the preambles. I see you. What if they breed that in 7 years? Yeah, I got you. Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's another point. We got to get rid of that birthright citizenship. The 14th Amendment, Section 3. The Supreme Court should be handling it. We don't want people over here and they're breeding cockroaches left and right, and now those kids get to stay and they go home. I don't want those anchor babies here either. I agree with that 100%. There's got to be rules in place. I don't know what the rules are because they haven't been specific enough. See, that's the problem. I want to see somebody up here in this administration that is specifically outlining these things that we're asking questions about and not use the Secretary of Treasury. I don't think that's his position. You need a spokesman, a czar, an economic czar, which I think an economic affordable czar, an economic czar in general, to have blanket questions asked about this. I don't want to hear the press secretary. She's good at what she does. You need somebody specifically, okay? Not Peter Navarro, all right? I want a spokesman to talk about this that's coming directly from the White House economic team, okay? This is our parameters. This is where we're going. This is what we're facing. And this is what's going in and what's coming out. We need that on a daily or weekly basis. That's what I want to see. That's my only criticism I have. That's how you get the message across for a lot of people. So we don't get tongue-tied. We don't start freaking out on X. When we start losing our minds and people having heart attacks, Marshall. I mean, honestly, the blood pressures are going up. People can't tolerate certain conversations. And again, I ask you, the overreaction to these H-1B visas, was it an imperfect reaction? Or was it because of the shoddy disposable income slave theory?
Well, I will say that Bessant, I'm sure he probably wasn't expecting. I guarantee he's getting on tons of blowback and all kinds of stuff.
Right.
He's having to go through something that he probably was not expecting. And I will give him credit because he's handling it
He's doing a
very
great job.
well.
Yeah.
He is handling it extremely well.
Mm-hmm.
And I agree with you. Like I mentioned earlier, Trump needed a
He's the
bullet.
shiny apple in that administration.
Yeah.
He really is. He's on his game.
Trump-
He
yeah.
is on his game.
Trump needed a bullet point list.
Yeah.
Like you were saying, this is what we're going to do. This is how it's going to go. This is how long it's going to take. And he needs that person, not the secretary of what, I forget what job he's in, but the Bessant.
Mm-hmm.
You need somebody there that can cover these things. And Caroline Leavitt is not the person because she's just the press secretary, not for this specific.
You need an economic. I would say an economic slash. What Riley said. I said it. Yes,
Yeah.
An economic affordable czar that will handle all this stuff. An H-1B czar. You can have multiple. Why not?
So that you
have them so they can specifically talk about and put them out there in the press. Put them out there in the press gaggle, speaking to individual things. Get a czar with this who has the knowledge and understanding of H-1B visas, not the Secretary of Homeland Security. Okay? That's the wrong fit. You don't want that person there. Specific economic rationale. You need economic people to speak about these things, break them down. Put a team together, all right, and have these people come out as stalwarts speaking to the press gaggle every day or every week. Senor Polo, gift of the shades, like PEF 92860, that's in the chat, said we didn't have foreigners come in and train Americans during World War II. Listen, it's a different time. that was a different generation. And you understand is that we're not in that. Think about the time frame. I mean, we're in a technological age. I mean, that's a totally different age of where we are. So I get what you're saying and stuff. But, you know, by the early 50s, you know, Eisenhower had to deport about 1.5 to 2 million illegal Mexicans that came across the border. So we don't know how many people were in there at that time that were doing, let's just say, that type of labor per se, that were inside the country. I don't have those stats right now. I don't have those figures. Super D gifted the can. Thea gifted the phone. Senor Polo gifted the shades. Yeah, listen, I get what you're saying. Different time, different scenario. I don't think one has to do with the other. We've think about how many people we've let in this country since the 1960s. Let's just go back to the 1980s. There was no border. There hasn't been a border. There's been an imaginary border until Donald Trump came along. Do you understand that? There was border walls fit, all these different things. It wasn't until what? In the 90s, they got strong about it. Clinton, Obama, Bush, they were deporting people left and right. But that doesn't mean they were sneaking people in with HB1 visas and all these other things they were doing. Okay? And then it just got what happened. Obama comes in and 11 million people are out, but then they're bringing people in from other fashions. And then here we are now. How did it get so bad? So Bessant says $2,000 tariffs from President Trump will go to families making less than $100,000 a year. I guess there's your answer. Plus major tax refunds coming in 2026. $2,000 rebate that would be for families making less than $100,000. We have not decided. It's in discussion. Okay. The other thing is what we don't need is with the tax bill is financing the president's no tax for tips and overtime. The big refunds you'll see are the result of that. That's the other payment. Okay. Let's hear it.
Making less than, say,
Okay.
$100,000.
Have you decided on that yet?
We haven't. We haven't. It's in discussion. But the other thing to think about, Brian, is that what we did with the tax bill is actually financing the president's no tax and tips over time. So security and the big refunds you're going to see are a result of that. So that's another payment to the American people. And then the other thing you're going to see in the middle of the year are these Trump accounts.
Mm-hmm.
Every child born retroactively to January 1, but for the next 3 years is going to get a $1,000 account that's going to be invested in the U.S. stock market. So that's another $1,000 for working families.
So yesterday.
So at least he's giving some type of details to the economic policy. Some people don't like this 2,000. I have a clip here. It's Kevin O'Leary. I saw this. I'll play it briefly. You know what? I don't really want to hear from a Canadian telling me about this, but he makes sense. But here's the point. This is why I disagree with what he's saying. I don't want to send checks to people. I'm not going to play his video. I want to use these dollars to reduce the national deficit. Sending checks to these people is inflationary. What we need is long-term is to reduce deficits. So forget about $2,000 sent out to everybody and just apply it against the deficit of the country. First of all, no one believes, no one has the right. I mean, do you really believe in any possible way we're going to pay down this deficit? I mean, we're going to let this all come crashing down. There is no way we're going to pay down this deficit. This is part of the corporate entity that we're leaving behind and we're letting it implode. While we move from that back to the Republic, there is no way in hell. So this $2,000 that he's saying is a minuscule, a drop in the bucket that would actually touch, just the interest rate alone to pay for this massive debt on a monthly installment. So the idea that this guy is saying, well, we should just do this and table this and stuff like that, when I think in some way, I like the idea, $100,000 less, 100,000 less people that make. I mean, the average number, put it this way, I'm running too fast. The average number, about 73% of this country makes $68,000 a year. So he's saying he's capping at 100,000. He's saying it's going to go out $2,000, whether it's going to be checks, subsidies, tax credits, benefits. They're going to apply in a multi-tier fashion way. I like where Bessant was saying that. Scott Bessant was saying. However, what Mr. Wonderful is saying, we don't need that. Apply it to it, balance the budget and all this stuff. Like in any way. Do you know what the interest rate is on our budget? It's like almost $2 trillion we pay a month. This is the drop in the bucket. Could this help people out? Yeah, I think it could help people out. Okay? Again, I go back to the numbers. 73% of all Americans, the average number, makes $68,000 a year. Now, wonder why everything's expensive. There's no pay increases coming. And we're going to get to everything else that I explained yesterday. The point is that this short-term benefit will help people for the time being. Look how bad SNAP was. And they were giving it out to illegals, people who were generationally poor, who just can't afford anything, don't work in some way. So why is it that taxpayers couldn't see a rebate like this? I'm not equating this to Papa Bush or Uncle Bush back in 9/11. Yeah, go shopping. Keep your mind off of what happened with the towers. That's not what I'm saying here. And the application of the money will be applied in different matters for different people with their budget. I'm all fine with this. I disagree with this guy in saying that we're going to balance the budget in this way. There is no way in hell. We are not paying off this deficit. We're not paying off these $37 trillion. We're going to let it collapse. Okay? And everything that's attached with it is going to go bye-bye with itself. And that is the Federal Reserve, these banking entities, and everybody else. They'll be absolved, and it'll just disappear into the ether. They're just ones and zeros. There is no way in hell, all right, that we're just going to bring in all this money and then use it to pay off the corporate debt that was built up before President Trump got there. Just no way. It's just not possible. It's not even feasible. I can't even fathom the idea that's practical. I wouldn't even want that to be done. Let it all collapse and start over. And you know what? It just might collapse with the Supreme Court ruling. There's like a 26% chance they're going to rule in favor of him. That's the poly market, Marshall. But go ahead.
Yeah, he could send out, $25,000, $30,000 checks or whatever, and it wouldn't matter in the end because, like you said, we're coming into a complete financial reset. The whole thing is being changed right before our eyes. We're seeing it with the whole crypto stuff and this.
Yeah.
Everything is changing right now.
Right.
We're in the flux of it. I would say, shit, knock it dead. Send everybody 100,000. Let it go. Let her rip. But either way, I mean, on a serious note, the $2,000, that's gonna go to people that are middle and lower class, lower income. That's gonna help.
Middle, I mean, think about it. If I just gave you the numbers, 68,000 at a 73%, that's what the average is. So 100,000, that's above normal in some way. So I'm not necessarily thinking realistically what they were saying. I think it's going to reach more people. I think on a greater swath because that's where it's going. But I don't necessarily think that this is a bad idea. And to pay the deficit, I mean, really, $2 trillion. And we're moving out of the idea of becoming a debtor nation, whereas all this infusion of cash is coming in to what? Settle our bills, to pay for these things off while we cut our government down. We stop printing the money. Gold and silver are going up. Crypto is probably, I wrote a whole Substack on the crypto that it's going to be part of our blockchain, let's just say backup, like an FDIC type of scenario, that it's going to back up a lot of this wealth that's out there. Why do you think Trump's family bought up a lot of it? They were debanked, deplatformed, demonetized. Do I see? He's holding a dinner right now in the White House with JP Morgan and all the other banksters out there from the Fed. That's going to be an interesting discussion. I like to see video clips from that. But holding on to this debt, thinking in some way that this is going to be paid off, is just nonsensical. It's just not. It's not even possible. It's not even rational to think about that. And, I think we are moving out of the debtor system in some way. We're becoming a surplus in some ways, and I think people will start to notice that. Okay, moving forward with this. All right. So the White House this is CBS, the White House officials were unhappy about the 50-year mortgage idea that were released by top housing officials. Yeah, I would say so. I mean, I'm going to blow this up right now because I'm running out of time. We've been covering economics for a while. The proposal for a 50-year mortgage wasn't fully vetted by Trump administration officials, but wasn't ready to make public. So over the weekend, top federal housing official Bill Pulte floated the idea, which is a terrible idea, ladies and gentlemen, who approved it on Truth Social. Some Trump officials this week vented their frustration Pulte over the move. See? So a lot of these people are doing things on their own. If it wasn't vetted by Trump, he just went along with it for the time being and covered his ass on that because he didn't want to. They got out ahead of Mr. Trump or President Trump because Bill Pulte, all right, shot his mouth off. And maybe these people need to learn to table, okay, some of that discussions for a greater, let's just say, meeting with his economic advisors about what they want to put forward instead of just rushing out there and saying such outlandish ideas, which I covered. Another source disputed the characterization of the president as tepid about the mortgage proposal. However, he said 40 to 50-year mortgages have been discussed by Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick, National Economic Council Kevin Hassett. 3 sources said the Trump administration has been working on other ideas to promote affordability for Americans. The internal discussions on longer-term loans were casual and no final decisions have been made. The source said 50-year mortgage idea came when Pulte spoke to President Trump about Mar-a-Lago. All right, I'm not going to read the rest of it. I got to move forward. Let me just move forward with this one. We'll listen to this because I got this discussion. I really want to stay on this because Larry Kudlow comes in here. Could be he could be a next Fed chairman. It could be maybe not the next Fed chairman, maybe a principal there. Fox Business Larry Kudlow tortures the administration for a plan for a 50-year mortgage. It's not a good idea. Listen to this.
Because I stopped you in the elevator yesterday.
Not a good idea. It's not a good idea.
No.
I looked at it very carefully. It's just not a good idea.
Caroline Levitt just said he's serious about looking into this.
I know he is. Steve Miller was on the show last night. He defended it. And look, when you run the numbers, the interest expense is almost double if the 50-year mortgage over
Yeah,
a
we put it
30-year
together
mortgage.
as
I mean, it's almost double, for heaven's sakes. So you're indentured to the bank. You're like a serf indentured to the bank. And I think I appreciate what the president wants to do. And I think Scott Bessant's going to have some reforms on housing. Look, the lack of supply is
the
a killer.
problem. Yep.
So deregulate wherever you can. It's not an easy thing to do because so much of it's local level. You got a lot of people, a lot of crazy lefties that don't want to build houses anymore. They want public housing, which is not going to help the story. But the mortgage rate has come down. It's about 610 now, 620.
Yep.
And incomes are going up. Incomes are going up. Atlanta Fed wage tracker, 4.1% rise in median wages for the country.
I agree. There's a lot of great things happening. There's no doubt.
Juxtapose that against the 2.5% inflation rate.
This is why Larry Kudlow should leave his job. He should go back to the White House, and he should be out in front at the White House speaking for the White House, like he did in Trump 1.0. This is exactly the person you need to speak on these matters.
It would be perfect for that.
This would be perfect. This is what I'm saying. They need to get out in front of this. This is exactly what we're talking about. You need someone to break this down. I talked about it yesterday, Thomas's show, that this is debt serfdom. I'm going to get to the rest of it, but listen to this.
And real wages are rising, and the liberal media won't report it, and the stock market is in a booming. Stocks are telling you profits are booming. Companies are taking advantage of the fabulous one big beautiful bill, immediate expensing, and next year's economy is going to be booming. That's the
you
message
heard it
of
here.
the stock market.
You heard it from
President Trump should, if he's going to go on and do these shows, he should go on CNBC, Fox News with Kudlow. He shouldn't be talking to political junkies or hacks or spin doctors, so to speak. Honestly, do not engage in economic discussions with people like that. Okay, I know H-1B is a political hot topic. It's also an economic hot topic. But listen, this is where you need someone like that to be out in front. And let me say that about what we're discussing about. And I said this yesterday, and I do believe there's a problem. Yes, it's you loan more money for longer periods of time. I understand the interest rate. He said it's coming down. That's 6.10. You get it down to 4%, 3%. Oh, there you go. But why would you want a 50-year? I mean, yeah. You take one because you get in at a lower rate, but over time, it doesn't balance out if there's high interest rates at all. And you might as well just take an ARM or adjustable rate because that fluctuates based upon where you're at. If you know you're going to be at 3% for a couple of years and that keeps ticking up, well, then you're going to want to refinance after a period of time. But look, exploring the reason why the need to pay people more money no longer is necessary. You notice how he said that wages are going up. I don't necessarily, the way the stat is showing, it's going up per se. But the idea, the way these slave masters think, they think that by extending and increasing this or lengthening the chain link, the monetary link, because it feels like freedom is financial sharecropping, is they're allowing you to borrow more money instead of paying you more money. So the leverage is good. So it appears that it's good. The payments are low. But what is important is that you can refi later. Rates crash. Equity is the key. But the overarching thing is that you're going to be compounded with interest that's going to hit you within a period of time, that you're going to be paying double to the bank as time goes on. I think that Larry Kudlow he was perfectly set up there to discuss this. This is an example of what I'm talking about. Why do we have Laura Ingraham or all these other people setting off these firestorms when we're talking about the economy? We need good economic, let's just say, principled people that know what they're talking about, know what they're saying, that are getting out ahead of this before this blows up on X. Because every little thing, everybody's watching, everybody's picking apart, and you can't get away from it, Marshall.
I think, and I said this the other night, I think this whole 50-year mortgage thing that Trump mentioned is another reactionary statement.
Right.
He's shining a light on something.
Mm-hmm.
He's making people realize you're a slave.
Mm-hmm.
You're a slave to these debtors, these banksters, these guys that shyster out every money, every percentage. And when you start looking at how upside down, you would be so upside down if you took a 50-year. I mean, dude, you got
can two things be contradictory at once? Yes, they can. And I think President Trump is putting that out. He's basically showing you, hey, look, you got 30, 15, and 50. All right. You're slave debtors. He's showing you that. And he knows that people are going to, he knows people are going to discuss that and say, this is a terrible idea. And he's putting that out there. This is what they're going to do. I said it yesterday in Thomas's show. In Great Britain, that's the UK and Japan, have 100-year mortgages. And those mortgages carry over to the family. Okay? So they pass over to the family when they die. So that debtor stays in debt. It's now a debt family enterprise. It goes from the slave to the family to a generational debt system. All right? That's what those places have. And President Trump is purposely, that's why I was trying to tell you about dialectic thinking. I think that the duality of complex situations we're in, it's a paradox. At one level, he's showing you these are their options. These are only your options. But there might be other options coming. We might be able to do something that's better than this. Stay with me here on this. He's not proposing it. Bill Pulte put that out there. Other people put that out there. But I think he's showing you how criminal it is, how criminally insane it is, Marshall. I mean, I think that's where people need to see this. I really do. All right.
Yeah.
Would you say donating 717 gold pills? Thank you. Support the stream. Thank you all for helping out. Senor Polo, gift of the can. Who exactly do we pay the national debt money to? Well, the money goes into the Treasury. The Treasury pays the balance of this stuff so our credit doesn't slip. That's where it comes in. Our taxes go in there, and that's where it is. So we take in all these tariffs, and we're paying down the monthly interest rate or not, whatever it is. What is it? 1.8, almost $2 trillion. So we have to pay that so our credit doesn't score our slip in some way. Trump won gift of the cookie. Trusty Turnip gift of the cookie. Thank you so much. Appreciate all your support. Like, share, and subscribe if you want to drop us a gold pill. Any comments, questions, concerns, help us out over here. You can help out Marshall as well. Ko-fi.com/surfdog74. You wanted to say something. Go ahead.
No, I just think it was a reactionary statement, and he's got everybody talk. I'm surprised people aren't, they're not talking about as much because of this Laura Ingraham thing.
I don't think people are really seeing through what we're talking about, Marshall. They're not seeing the counterbalance of this, the self-contradictory discussions that are happening simultaneously. He's presenting arguments to people, okay, as real as it is today because they exist, and floating other ideas of what other people are suggesting, because if it's not happening now, it's going to happen in the future. And he's basically saying, in some way, not telling you out there, we got to get ahead of that. We got to get ahead of this curve because that's where you're going. That's what the banks are going to do to you. They're going to make you debt slaves for the rest of your life, and you're never going to be able to get out of it.
It makes you wonder about this meeting he's having right now.
He's with JP Morgan and all the big banks right now.
That's a big deal.
All
man.
the big lenders, the media right now. Maybe we'll cover it the other night. All right. So Eric Daugherty puts this out. Trump administration is now looking into normalizing portable mortgages, allowing Americans to keep their interest rate term lender when moving to a different home. FHFA Director Bill Pulte. We are actively evaluating portable mortgages. This allows you to avoid paying early repayment charges on the current loan, thousands saved. Now, this is a good plan. This allows you to avoid paying early repayment charges on the current loan, thousands saved. Basic rundown: instead of taking out a completely new mortgage, you use the money raised from the sale of your property to pay off the existing mortgage, and then take out a new mortgage on the same terms with your existing provider to cover your costs. Now, that's the plan, ladies and gentlemen. Okay. Now, that is an excellent idea. And especially if the interest rates start to drop. Okay. Now, if the interest rates drop and you're at a certain, let's just say, rate, you probably want to refi, because if you did, you'd probably get a better rate. But if you're stuck with something that's good, that's not changing, let's say it's 4, and the best is somewhere between 4 and 5 you get, and you're at 4, well, you're gonna keep it, because you know the average is about 4.5, and they're going to tell you that. You're going to be able to go through this when they run your credit, and they run through everything about giving you another loan if they want to do it. Actually, your current mortgage company will already have that assessed for you. You'll probably be advised in some way, yeah, probably keep this because your rate, your term or your rate might go up. This is a very good idea. I kind of like this in some way. Not everybody's going to, but I think this benefits a great many people who are comfortable with the loans they're in. They can move in, same loan, not pay out of this, pay into this, long as this covers this, moving into from home to home. I think it's fantastic. Excellent idea. What do you think, Marshall?
No, I think this was definitely very cool. I mean,
Yeah. Better
you
than a
know,
50-year mortgage. Yeah.
yeah. Oh, yeah. It's the
Right.
opposite.
Right.
And it's where, they're trying to, he's trying to show you innovative ways that we can do things that'll help people to get a home. And I think this one is pretty cool. It doesn't help people buy a new home. It helps, I guess, existing owners to move into a different property. But it shows the thinking. It shows the way he's trying to be creative, and that's what you want to be.
Right.
I almost think that maybe eventually all this shit's not going to be the same. That the whole thing will be completely different.
Well, it has to be different. I mean, here in Super D says in Carter days, we bought our first house and interest rates were at 19% to 21%. Yep. We financed 3 times as the rates came down to 15-year loan. 50-year is not good, but the real problem is the insurance and city taxes. Yes, in Florida, that's the problem. We have a huge problem with insurance, okay? Getting coverage and then finding affordable coverage, especially if you're not in a flood zone. And I believe in 2026, they're mandating it in a lot of different counties that you will be required to have flood insurance. I know it floods around here in this Hillsborough, Pinellas, Polk County, all around here on the west coast of Florida. Yeah, troglodyte, 2 subprime mortgage holders. Yeah, I saw that collapse. You think that meeting's about that? Could be more than that, but I don't know if this was scheduled per se. That's something we'll have to look into and stuff. Yeah, I mean, you don't want to go through another 2008. I don't think we're going to go through 2008 like this per se, but we will see some elements of the old guard that are there, remnants of it, that are going to come crashing down. They have to come crashing down. That's why we're moving into this new system. And suggestions that are being put out there are basically saying, well, this is the operation they had planned or intended to plan for you. All right. And I think that President Trump, again, with dual meanings, dual discussions, not everything is what he intends to say, and not everything that what he intends to say, he intends to mean. So keep that in mind as he juggles his rhetoric, because he likes to be mysterious about this. He likes to dangle things out there. He really does. He doesn't really say what he truly means. He never does. He's very guarded in that matter. He just gives enough information out there for it to bite. And then from that, he reels it in, then throws something else out there. All right. That's how he does this type of discussion with these complex situations and these complex, I think, in some way, rhetoric, rhetorical conversations. They just keep floating back and forth. Bessant was completely specific. You notice that. Why wasn't President Trump specific? Because he's not. He purposely does that. That's his allure. All right. He says something and that's it. He drops a bomb and then he goes and then he doubled down on that. So I think there was something there that he was intentionally trying to drive through. And I think people bit. All right, here we go.
Yeah, and he looks for the reactions of people.
Well, of course,
so
that's his
saying. He wants to
he's
know
a sensationalist. Yes.
What do people say? What do people think? And he's listening.
Right. Yeah. That's how that's exactly how he drives the narrative. That's exactly how he drives the narrative. House Republicans released 23,000 Epstein documents after Democrats reveal Trump mentioned in this. All it was is basically, and I'll go through this, but look, this is a cover, a divertisement, a distraction in some way because they just came in to, vote, open up the government. And so they have to throw this out there automatically and say, this is the reason why President Trump kept the government closed because he's in the Epstein files. We did this. We put this out there. And this is why the government was closed. This is what it is. They're trying to buffer this in some way and get people to think that this is the reason why the government was shut down. Documents detail Epstein-Trump connection, new release materials obtained by James Comer, chairman of Oversight Committee, through a subpoena issued in August. According to reports, the documents were published just 2 hours after House Democrats released the email, Epstein stating that Trump spent hours at my house. Okay. Republicans released appears aimed at countering the criticism that the party has withheld government files on Epstein. Now, look, the Oversight Committee is working through this. And I just saw before we went on, the Tennessee congressman, I forget his name, he just tried to put a motion on the table, on the floor, to get the Epstein stuff out there. And what happened? It was shot down. So they're not really serious about this. This is all a ploy. All right. This is all a ploy to hurt the Trump administration, to hurt President Trump, to get people not thinking that the Democrats shut down the government. Congressional Democrats on Wednesday released emails from convicted sex offender Epstein that appear to reference President Trump. 2019, to Wolf, Epstein wrote, of course he knew about the girls as he asked Ghislaine to stop. Another email from 2011 to Maxwell stated, I want you to realize that that dog hasn't barked. That dog that hasn't barked is Trump. Redacted name. The redacted name. Look, the point was, it all comes back to Guthrie. Guthrie is put out and said, and they tried to misdirect her name, keep her name out in some way. It was Guthrie's statement had revealed that President Trump did nothing to nobody, and she was one of the people that were abused by Epstein, by Prince Andrew, and by Ehud Barak. Spent hours at my house with him, and he's never once mentioned. Maxwell replied the same day, I've been thinking about that. The name of the individual mentioned was Virginia Guthrie, who publicly accused Epstein of the exploitation. The pushback, the White House quickly denounced the release of Democrats selecting leaking emails. This is just another hoax. Levitt also noted Guthrie had repeatedly said President Trump was not involved. Again, they're throwing this out as cover, subterfuge in some way, to supplant that in some way by deleting or moving information out so the public would be distracted and say, hey, look, this is why the government was shut down. This is why I didn't get my SNAP payments. This is why the ACA don't work. That's all it was, is running cover on this. In the memoir, prior to the testimony, Guthrie said she met Trump only once while working at the SPAR. She described him as friendly and recalled that he offered to help her getting babysitting jobs. Maxwell's statement, serving a 20-year sentence for her role in aiding Epstein's crime, told the Justice Department in July she never witnessed Trump in every appropriate setting. So as much as they try to continue to run cover and put this out there and then rug pull this simultaneously, they just put blots of this out, misconstrue, distract, misdirect in some way. The release of the emails comes as an ongoing political debate. The Trump-Epstein connection has a long point of a public and media scrutiny. Look, I think in some way that's the the Wolf article that he wrote. He wrote that book on everything in some way, and this was to get President Trump from the get-go. But it all boils down to the the logical conclusion. If they had anything on Trump, he would have never been president in the first term. You would have never saw him in the second term with everything that happened running, and definitely would have seen him in 2024. So, I mean, the simplest explanation really is the most undercutting. I don't think we really have to go there to explain that, Marshall. But all right, moving
Yeah, it
on.
was very obvious that that's all they wanted to do. And I just checked, Brett. They have finalized the vote and they have voted to end the shutdown.
Okay, so
So
it's done.
apparently Trump is going to sign it later tonight.
Good.
So,
So you think they'll pass
but
the
all
CR?
this, yeah,
Hmm.
yeah, they said that they did it. It's already
Okay.
done. He's going to sign
Okay.
it tonight. That's what they're saying. He's going to sign it tonight. And all they were doing with what you just talked about, this whole Epstein thing,
Right.
was to cover. Oh, they got their asses handed to them on the shutdown, and so they're trying to. It's all just it's typical, Brett. Everybody, it's so simple. It's kindergarten shit.
It's another just like ridiculous thing that we have to talk
It's
about,
silly.
and I'm sick of it. The DOJ has formally notified Berkeley they are launching a full investigation into the university after they failed to protect conservatives attending TPUSA's event. Per Harmy Dillon, mob assault and thuggish intimidation. Yes, they're going after civil rights. There's hate crimes involved. I mean, look, I mean, I think this is something right now that I'm sick and tired of seeing. That if you really want a reaction from somebody, if you want to get pissed, when is this going to come to a freaking end? I am so sick and tired of this shit. Okay. And I know right now the Supreme Court, which I'll cover, is about to issue a statement regarding Chicago and about sending in to protect what's going on, ICE, to go after these people that keep attacking the ICE facility in Chicago and stuff. And it's getting worse. Munitions are being lit on fire by Antifa while attenders are rushing to the venue and stuff. You know what? I'm just sick of it. I'm sick of it. Look, we're leading to this point. I know it's coming. We keep saying it in some way, but every injunction that happens, there's going to be a court case that comes up that's basically going to pretty much define everything that we're seeing. The Gateway Pundit put this out. And I think this is what it's intimating, is that this is it. This is going to set everything ablaze and everything is going to move forward. If Trump can control riots against ICE facilities using the National Guard. This is a big one too. I mean, think about it. If the Supreme Court, the Supreme Court knows it has precedent, right? In some way, there's precedent on the books. It's called the Insurrection Act. Okay. They don't need the Supreme Court to give President Trump the authority, but this is where it's at. And once they sign off on this, because they're going to say, well, he could declare the Insurrection Act, or he could do other things. And there's precedents in the past. So this whole thing, I mean, this is going to be an interesting take of where this goes. And what's going to drop after that? Will President Trump have to declare the Insurrection Act if the Supreme Court gives him the go-ahead to move forward in this? I don't think so. He might not have to. But the Supreme Court is likely to decide in about a week. Important constitutional question and a mammoth part of Trump administration's agenda on illegal immigration. Pritzker and Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson won a district court trial level injunction against Trump's use of National Guard and other military to quell riots and violent disorder in Chicago, Portland, Oregon, Los Angeles, and our parallel circumstances. While not technically part of the case, Oregon and California have ended briefs and will strongly be guided by the high court's decision. And what some observers call a growing civil war, sanctuary states and cities are directly interfering with the federal law enforcement. That's going to be an interesting thing to see how it unfolds. If it was my guess, I'd say 6-3. If I had to pick, I think it's 6-3 majority opinion, and probably Clarence Thomas or Alito making some type of argument in a majority favor. There's too much precedent on the book regarding this and restricting. Look, the AR brief states reminding justice about the order in Brown versus Board of Education was being defied by the state officials, mostly in Little Rock, Arkansas, Democratic Party state officials. There's many scenarios that this was done in so many ways back in the 60s that Kennedy put in, that Eisenhower put in, that LBJ did. So many different people has utilized this authority to send the National Guard in many different ways without declaring the Insurrection Act. And I think in some way we're about to see this. And it'll probably set off the stage because, as President Trump says all the time, he doesn't want to use the Insurrection Act because he realizes that he might get blowback from that. You know, they might come after him in this way. But the Supreme Court leveraging that out opens the floodgates for what President Trump will do.
Yeah, this shit needs to end. And everybody is. We are all sick of these people. You know, they're even now admitting they had one down here where Caitlin Bennett was here in Daytona, or up in Daytona for me.
Yeah.
And these people were protesting, and they literally admitted that they were working. They were getting paid to be there.
Yeah.
She called them, Caitlin Bennett. So, you know, look, we've had enough of this shit. And they do need to go to jail. They need to be arrested.
Well, this is the whole point about the First Amendment. There is no longer a First Amendment. Okay, we still have censorship on the rise. You can't say certain things. You can't, anything you say that against Jews is anti-Semitic, you'll be arrested for hate speech. I mean, that's just a joke. That's embarrassing. Then you have, and that's prevailing laws all over the place. Look what happened to Portney. The guy threw some coins and nickels at him and said some things. The kid was arrested, and he had to drop out of MSU. I hope he sues Portney. Free speech, motherfucker. Free speech. But again, free speech is under assault. So is what? The right to peacefully assemble. If I want to stand outside and assemble peacefully to protest someone, what I'm engaged in attacks by what? Antifa. You can't even be a journalist walking around interviewing people because you're going to be attacked. Every element of our First Amendment rights, A, B, C, D, and E, all have been what? Crippled. Go look through them all. Go get your handbook, go read it, and look through it and tell me how many court cases in the last several years has the first, it's been under assault for a very long time, and it continues to be. To allow this, it's not peaceful assemble. The right to protest is not even in the freaking Constitution. These people are just rioting, obstructing justice. We have to move off this syntax, this language, these linguistics and how we speak. This is not your right to protest. You don't have a right to protest, because protesting today is what? Is an anathema to what? Violent rioting. I'm so sick of this. We got to start changing the language. We have to start talking smart. We have to start using certain, let's just say, languages, soliloquies in such a fashion that we don't give them the opportunity to use. And maybe the laws have to be written this way. The idea that there's a right to protest in your handbook is a joke. Peacefully to assemble. What does that mean? To gather together, whether in a church or in a building or in a congressional hall, something like that. Not to stand out on the street, burn flags, burn down buildings, shoot things at people, and see the ICE agent that was shot at by these Crips or Bloods or whatever, these gang ties that are going on and stuff. And I said that once that happens, game over. Game over. You start shooting federal agents that are there, ICE agents, the military's coming in one way or another. Okay? And I don't care who's going to get swept up. You're caught in that, good luck. Who hangs out at these things? Yeah, let me hang out and take pictures. What are you doing there? If you're not a journalist recording this, what are you doing there? Supreme Court needs to understand just how the tariffs will make the U.S. and have the greatest economy that can be shared with the people. He's already made deals that will bring billions of dollars into America. If they rule against the tariffs, it will sink us. Here's my point. See, the prediction markets put Trump's tariffs win at 24%. Let me just say this. What if it was meant to be? What if it was meant to be? And I'm just throwing that out there. What if it was meant to be? You can't pay the $3 trillion back. We just collapse. The whole system comes crashing down. Isn't that what we want? Isn't that what we're going to see? Do you really have faith they're going to vote in a majority opinion, Marshall? I mean, do you really think that the Supreme Court is going to vote against President Trump on tariffs because it's an ad valorem tax, it's a VAT tax? All it is a tax of when a good comes in or a good comes out. That's all it is. But the way they preface it and the way they look at it, they don't understand the economic security that is, let's just say, equivalent to the national security of what it means to have that in some way. Are they missing this? I don't think any of the arguments really landed, because I was listening to this case about national security. I think they were confounded by the idea that national security had anything to do with this economic sovereignty.
I mentioned it the other night, man. It has everything to do with national security. And if they look at it in that way, you know, I don't know who was presenting. I don't know if there were presenters or not, or they were just reading over, you know, what they're going to pass or not vote on. But they need to identify that and look at the fact that this is also a matter. Look, it is a matter of national security. It is economic. What is economic? Well, it's about the security of your country. So one hand holds the other. In other countries all around the world, they do the same shit. They put tariffs. China does it big time. We've been screwed, like Trump said, for years. So it's time for reciprocation.
Yeah.
You get a little bit, we get a little bit. You get a little bit, we get a little bit. I think they should vote in favor. But on the other hand, what you're saying,
I said 5-4 majority. I said it's going to be a very tight. I think it's going to be 5-4.
I think in the meantime they should vote in favor of it.
I think
the crash.
I think it might be temporary too. I think there might put preconditions on it. I don't know how. I'm only being positive because I think there are precedent on the books about this, but the way they're interpreting and stuff, because they don't see it as national security, but how can you not see it as national security? How can you not see that we're getting ripped off, okay, from all these different things and putting us in debt behind the 8 ball? Yeah. And that increased deficit that we have just continues on, and we're paying $1 trillion. How does that not? We don't have money to pay our bills. We don't have money to fund our government. Let's listen to this. All these hit pieces against FBI director and his personal life. This one's apparently not supposed to have. There's one reason for it: Russiagate, Brennan Comey, Clapper, Haspel, distract. Okay, look, we all know what's taking place with the girlfriend. We all know what's taking place with Rift TV, and I think it was Eli Schaefer, and understanding he gets some letter from his girlfriend saying that what's her name, Alexis Winters or whatever it is, that they're suing him for posting all this stuff, the idea that she's some honeypot or all this stuff, all this other nonsense that people are throwing around with no information, nothing. Chanel Renaud does a great job of explaining this. And I will come to the defense of him per se, because in some way, she will explain to you that he not only has a requirement, a mandate that he has to fly as FBI director on the jet all the time. That's number one. Number two, that it doesn't say that he can't have a personal life. Number three, she talks about the vetting and the security of him, his girlfriend, and what have you. I think this is an excellent overview about understanding what Kash Patel is. And here's the thing. Has anybody had the foresight? Because I know a lot of people want to get rid of Kash Patel, but let's be clear. Kash Patel is going to be there after Trump is gone. He's got a 10-year term.
Rice, Ray, this close to being marched off in leg irons because of Kash Patel's exposing their roles in the Russia hoax. Yet, it's become extremely popular these days to slam FBI Director Kash Patel.
Now, do you think it's fair? I mean, everybody loved him before he was FBI Director. Everybody loved him. But just like they attacked MAGA and President Trump, they've been attacking him, Bondi, what have you. Kash Patel was the guy. He was a very popular guy. Went on a bunch of shows. Everybody loved him. Now everybody hates him. She'll point this out. Very good illustration here.
Criticize him for not doing his job, to say Kash is abusing his position. And it's coming from the right. Here's FBI whistleblower Kyle Seraphin on Alex Jones slamming Kash on his use of a private jet to travel anywhere.
After the party, And after the ass chewing, I guess, he turned around and flew up none other to Nashville, Tennessee, which is where the girlfriend lives. So the person that kicked off the scandal was that Kash Patel flew up to State College, watched his girlfriend sing the national anthem, and then followed her home or maybe transported her home to Nashville.
Kash then fired an agent presumably involved in publishing Kash's jet movements, to which the viral podcaster Sean Ryan weighed in with a now deleted tweet writing, "If you don't want people tracking your jet, quit flying around on the taxpayer's dime." What's the most high-profile law enforcement head in the Trump administration supposed to take? An Uber? JetBlue? How about Amtrak? Maybe just drive himself. Problem is, Kash has no choice. He is required to take that jet so long as he is.
Yeah, what do you think of Sean Ryan? I mean, Kyle Seraphin, I think he's just one pissed off. He's an ex-FBI guy. I think he's just pissed off with the FBI, and he's just raising holy hell. What do you think of Sean Ryan, though, saying that? Yeah, fake Mackers, huh?
Is director at FBI. In 2011, the U.S. Department of Justice changed its internal travel rules.
See this?
So that the FBI director became a required use traveler. This means the director must fly only on FBI, DOJ-owned jets for every trip. Official.
I told you that. When Senator, what's his name from Iowa was questioning, Chuck Grassley was questioning Chris Wray, and before he had to dip out to go to the Adirondacks for some family trip or something like that, he was even asked, "You going to take the jet?" He goes, "Yeah, I'm required to." And then someone else asked him the question when he came back in the house and saying, "Why are you taking the jet to fly around?" And he goes, "It's mandated. If you don't want it mandated, you put that in there."
Official business, family visits, vacations, anything else. Commercial airlines are forbidden as director. Why? For one, the director is on call 24/7 for national crises. Second, FBI jets are wired with secure classified systems, skiff in the skies. That let the director speak to the White House, field officers, or overseas agents without risk of eavesdropping. Makes sense. Before 2011, directors could fly commercial for personal trips and just repay coach fare. The new rule closed that policy for security reasons. Yes, this is why Sean Ryan deleted his tweet. He realized how ignorant he was. No matter, the left has picked this up and they're running with it. Attacking Kash Patel's girlfriend, Alexis Wilkins, at every turn while they're at it. Now, Kyle and Alex are stalwarts in the conservative movement. I know Kyle. I respect his insights. You've seen him on the show. But I also know Kash. Back when Kash was going through confirmation, it felt like I was the lone voice saying with full confidence Kash was not going to have any problems getting through. I stood alone. I said Kash is clean. He has the credentials, and they won't be able to deny him. He'll disclose and play it by the book. And I was right. He passed confirmation. To a lot of people's surprise, frankly. Kash isn't some closet weirdo, though. He doesn't have a gambling or drug addiction. He's got nothing for them to hang him with. He's hustled together deals all over the world and made money. Not illegal. He's disclosed it. So the enemy has nothing to attack this kind of guy with except one thing. They attack their loved ones. In Kash's case, his girlfriend, Alexis Wilkins. And they went for the jugular with her, calling her a Mossad agent, with no evidence, by the way, calling her a honeypot. How could a woman this attractive go for Kash, they'd ask. I think that was literally their sole basis of evidence. And mind you, this was all coming from the right. Something bad is brewing, and I'm about to say a series of things that might be very unpopular. Another piece of ignorance shouted out by the right is how Kash isn't cleaning out the FBI quick enough. Now, I agree. There are more people that need to be fired at the FBI. I think they should all be fired. But there are some hard realities we do need to acknowledge. Kash Patel will be fighting it out in court for the rest of his life, just based off the 3 months of his taking office. And not for anything he's done wrong. No, the moment Trump leaves office, Kash will be the target of every single disgruntled deep stater who spent their career at the FBI and the Justice Department destroying America and Americans. Think about that for a second. They will channel all of that on cash after this administration. Critics like Kyle have pointed out very specific examples, and we've talked about it here. Why are J6 agents getting promotions inside the agency? Why is the enemy flying Cash's planes? Why are Russiagate architects still getting a salary? Great questions all. Alex Jones, Sean Ryan, Tim Dillon are gobbling it all up, and they're spewing it back to their millions of conservative viewers. But none of them have a leg to stand on to even begin to criticize Cash. When the going got tough, for example, Sean Ryan crumbled, ran off to Bogota, and loaded himself up on Colombian cocaine and prostitutes. This while Cash was taking on the Miami drug lords as a public prosecutor, and then proceeded to unravel the entire Russiagate hoax out of Hillary Clinton's cauldron. That is what this is really about. Now that Ratcliffe Gabbard and, as of yesterday, U.S. Attorney Lindsay Halligan have declassified very damning notes and documents showing James Comey, John Brennan, James Clapper, Susan Rice, Christopher Wray were all in on the so-called Hillary plan, the plan to distract from Hillary's scandals and hatch this plot to take down Donald Trump and tie him to fake stories of Russian collusion. The plan that Cash himself exposed is now confirmed and has the deep state deeply upset, to say the least. They're about to be hauled off in leg irons all because of Cash. And as FBI director, you didn't hear a lot about this. Cash was the one who found Comey's handwritten notes, proving Comey's role in the Russiagate conspiracy. Cash was the one who found the 5 burn bags slated to be destroyed containing the Russiagate Hillary plan his predecessor tried to hide. Cash is at the FBI, and he's still unraveling the Russiagate scandal because he remembers. He won't forget. As to my friend Kyle Seraphin, I do respect you, and I look forward to having you on show soon to debate all of this. But to the millions of Americans watching this saga unfurl, I have to believe the bigger picture of how dangerous Cash is to the deep state is more important than a handful of plane rides that are mandated by Congress. A nothing burger.
That's a great overview, I think, of Cash Patel. And I think he's taken a lot of abuse and he doesn't get a lot of accolades. This whole thing with his girlfriend and all this stuff, there's no evidence to suggest one way or another she is or isn't. I mean, there would be plenty of people digging in to prove it. And Kyle Seraphin, he was being sued. I think there was a discovery. He was questioned by Cash's girlfriend's attorneys about this and stuff. I think there's a lot of people trying to figure out what's going on here. Is he working behind the scenes to help her with these lawsuits? I think there's a lot of people figuring that out. I'm not really sure per se and stuff, but if you're spewing libel and slander, well, expect to get sued. I mean, if you can't back that up, why are you putting it out there? It's like Candace Owens with Macron's wife. And then she was sued, what, $5 million or something like that, some ridiculous lawsuit. And what happened? What happened with that lawsuit? So I would be careful about, like, jumping the gun and saying this is that. I don't know why people are making that such a big deal. What? Because he's not married, and because what? She's younger than him and she's really good looking. And I don't even know who she is. She's a country star. I guess so. I mean, I just, I mean, do you really think Cash Patel is running around with the honeypot? I mean, do you really think so? I just, for the life of me, I couldn't even imagine that. And he was with her before he became FBI director. It's not like they met after. They've been together for a while now.
I've really never been a fan of the Sean guy, CIA, and Kyle Seraphin. These guys, please.
I know.
It's just more of the same. And then again, it's the plane. Stupid. They brought that up before. They did that like 2-3 months ago. They brought up the fucking plane.
I know. What's the big deal?
What the hell?
Honestly, do you really want the FBI director flying JetBlue or riding Amtrak? I mean, if I was the FBI director, I'd want my own fucking plane too, because he's a hunted man. Come on.
These are people. When you see this kind of shit go on, Brett, when y'all see this, These are people that are trying to disrupt Trump's administration.
Right.
That's all this is.
Mm-hmm.
These are disruptors of his administration. They are not your friend.
Would you equate to them the same people that are freaking out over the H-1B visas? Are they any dissimilar?
Anything? Yes. No, they're not dissimilar. They're exactly the same.
Okay.
They get the knee jerk. They go in and they try to attack the administration. Oh, look, they're doing this. It's anytime y'all.
That's why I put that out there. I wasn't jumping the gun and
Yeah.
freaking out, pulling my hair out about this.
Yeah.
I think you got to listen to the message. You got to listen to how Trump speaks. I think there was duplicitous. I think a lot of people got this wrong. You could be upset about H-1B visas. That Congress does that. The State Department handles that. Congress should be passing laws about this. The State Department should be pulling back. I mean, there's a lot of different people involved with HB1 visas. It's not just the administration.
And when you get something that is supposed to upset you, if it feels like it's upsetting you, step back and go to yourself. Why am I upset? Should I be upset? Should I just wait a minute? Should I just step back and hold on?
I can't believe how many people just get so upset
Don't
about.
just fall into this trap. Don't fall into this emotional, like, oh my God.
I can't believe how many people get angry about so quickly. They flip
about
out.
a single item.
All right, here's something that's going to make you guys all happy. All right, it's going to make you happy, or I think it's going to be angry because I'm doing the marijuana thing here. Is marijuana healthier than alcohol? Most Americans think so. How about that one? As alcohol industry continues to face headwinds that have resulted in craft breweries galore shutting down and major distilleries laying off employees and pausing production, many have been grappling with the why. Why is the industry seemingly sliding downward? What changed? The most widely accepted answer is a simple one. Booze soared to record heights during COVID, and companies increased production to meet the demand. Now the pandemic era is in the rearview mirror, and these companies are left with surplus supply and not enough demand. However, there's no question. There's only the question of health. In January 2023, the World Health Organization made the bold claim, heard around the world, no level of alcohol consumption is safe. Alcohol coalitions have pushed back on that claim, but it seems to have little impact. In February this year, WHO Europe published a report claiming alcohol labels should warn of cancer risks. Despite cancer being the leading cause of alcohol attributable deaths in European Union, public awareness of the link between alcohol and cancer remains alarmingly low. As alcohol consumption has subtly decreased, the non-alc and THC industries have risen. Could part of this be due to the health factor? Quite possibly. It turns out the MRI Simmons 2020 National Cannabis Study determined in a new poll that 61% of respondents agreed that marijuana is a healthier choice than alcohol, according to the Marijuana Moment. Among respondents who reported using marijuana in the past 6 months, the percentage is up 87%. Additionally, 73% of U.S. adults reported believing that marijuana carries health benefits, while 67% say cannabis is good both for the body and the mind. 64% of respondents also said they believe marijuana will be legal in 50 states within the next 5 years. Yeah, I think it's only, was it 28? It's close to 28, 29, but it's not federally legal. It's legal in the states. So under your 10th Amendment rights, the state provides it for you and you could smoke it. But there's no federal law that's involved with it, and that's how it should be. I don't want federal laws getting involved with this, but overall, what's your thoughts about this? I don't really have an opinion about it, but I know there's a lot of people I know that probably smoke weed and stuff that probably do feel that it's safer than alcohol. Marsha, what say you? Do you think marijuana is safer than alcohol?
Well, I'll say this. I'll give my dad's opinion. My father was a family physician for 50 years.
Mm-hmm.
And he actually did believe that it was not as dangerous as alcohol. And that's because he had patients that died from alcoholism.
Mm-hmm. Cirrhosis of the liver.
One of his patients, he described to me, he told this story where his patient was riding a dirt bike in the woods. He ran right into a tree. Well, he had been drinking and it killed him. I mean, he died. But, look, all this stuff is not good for you. Obviously, drinking scotch or wine is not the best thing. But you know what? Everything in moderation is, butter is good for you, but you don't want to eat a stick of butter every day.
No.
So it's all in it's all in moderation.
I know the way they make beef tallow these days, it's like you don't want to eat a tub of that. It's not ice cream.
I rub it on my face.
Yeah.
They make lotions out of it. Stuff's good, man. Good stuff.
Thea, thank you for the phone. And I saw you dropped 1,000 gold pills. Thank you again for supporting. I dropped all the. Yeah, I just want to hear anybody's thoughts. Apparently, everybody's all gone or quiet. No one wants to say anything about the marijuana thing. Usually, I get blowback. I didn't say anything about it. I just wanted to show you that article. So, those who smoke weed, what do you think? Are you one of those people who believe that it's a safer bet or a healthier bet for you? I know there are a lot of people that think that, at least for a lot of different reasons.
And moderation is your only everything, whatever it is, moderation.
Yeah, I mean, I honestly, I can't take that or do those gummies. I mean, honestly,
I drank one of those in the bar the other night. The marijuana. I was like, whoa, wait a minute. After about 30 minutes, I'm like, man, I'm not.
No, there's no way I can. I have to have my faculties too. Like, I can't have the next day.
I still know what's going on.
Yeah, I mean, even if I have a couple of scotches and stuff or slightly hungover, I'm not, dude. The lion's mane hones me in. I'm not foggy and stuff. I got to really think about my thoughts and collectively hold my thing. It's not like some people are much more functional with the product per se and stuff in some way. And it's going to be on the ballot probably this year come 2026. So I don't know what they're going to do in Florida. They're going to expand it. Are they going to allow you to grow your own, which I'd like to see? I think that would be the best way. I don't want one large corporation again. Thank you, Thea, for the shades. But I don't want one large corporation controlling a whole thing like it was last time.
Bad deal.
That's a really bad deal. That's why I voted no on it.
Tobacco. That reminds me.
If you give the people of Florida and you expand it out to more than 7 or 8 counties, make it the whole state then. But then give people the opportunity, all right, medicinally, where it is, to let it grow it. And I'm fine with that. I don't, I mean, but again, they're probably not going to do that because they make money with the dispensaries and setting up shop.
I don't trust the big companies making it.
I know. I hear you.
Just like big tobacco.
Makes you hungry also. Yeah.
Well, I like ribeye and a nice piece of pie. There you go.
Yeah, but she's saying after weed. Smoking weed, it makes you hungry. Yeah.
Well, okay, then have a ribeye and a piece of pie.
Alcohol makes you hungry too. After you've been drinking for a while.
You sleep good.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So I mean, all of it, probably not late night eating is probably not healthy for you at all and stuff. All right. Well, that's tonight's show. Thank you, Thea, again for the can. Thank you all for supporting the platform. I appreciate everybody out there. There was anybody on, I guess there was nobody on YouTube. Well, that's unfortunate.
It's quiet over there because it's still building. Everybody subscribe to YouTube. We got to build the numbers over there.
Yeah. Yeah, I have that over there because it's important, because if any of these platforms go down, I want people to go over there and they like it. Everybody's liking YouTube. It's all back and stuff. I know people a certain walk tight ropes and stuff. I'm not doing that here. I mean, it's either I can say what I say or I can't say it all. I mean, I'm not gonna walk around eggshells anymore. I'm so done with it. Yeah, I'm on tube. But yeah, that's great, Aloha Mom. That's fantastic. You're on it right now. Good. I'm glad. I mean, that's good that people are on there. It's just we got to get used to it being back and stuff. Some people
go back and forth.
Yeah, I mean, so many people are on. I have so many people on Rumble, which is good and stuff. Thanks again, Stun Gun 10 for the $10 Rumble rant. That's our show for tonight. We will see you on, Friday. Have a good night. Ciao, Bella. Stay warm out there. If you want to help out Marshall, ko-fi.com/surfdog74. Ciao.